I was talking to Kathy Strange from Whole Foods, also at SFA News Live, and we were talking about the relationship, and you've just touched on that, the relationship between buyer and seller. I'm going to be very down to it. And she talks about how that's so important, probably more important today than ever before. Why is that?
Well, I think I've worked on both sides of the business. So I've worked in manufacturing as well as on the retail side. So I can talk from both sides of that, I guess. It's really important to have that relationship. If you're going to do any kind of innovation or anything that means you need to take a risk, then you need to have that longer term relationship. You need to have those close relationships so that you understand your customer, be that the retailer, be that the customer out there in the stores. What are the risks you can take? And if you can do that together, I think you have a much stronger partnership and a much better way to provide something for your customers.
So I'm going to ask the three of you the same question. Talk to us about that manufacturer retailer relationship, because it has changed. I mean, when I started, I was working for my dad, and I'd drive out, I lived in New Jersey, drive out to Long Island to Wallbaum's and sit outside Dave Caron's office for about 5 hours, waiting to see him for about 10 minutes. And then, he would say, "No, kid, I'm not going to buy it." How has it changed from that, Jeremy?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Frankly, I think if you look at big CPG, today they're choosing their spend probably more frugally than they ever have. They're going to spend their dollars where they know they can get execution and results, and they aren't going to waste it where they don't. And then I think there's the side of specialty foods, frankly, that specialty foods is becoming more and more important in the relationship, and the lines are blurring more and more to the traditional supermarket, and those of us that are in the health foods business as well, to where that also drives consumer behavior. So I think you have a couple different major CPG relationships that your funding, frankly, model has changed. And I think also your specialty lines have blurred to where your relationships on both sides have changed. And I think you have to have both if you're going to succeed today. I mean, I think you have to have great execution, obviously, and you have to also give a value for what you're wanting to do with the partnerships that you have.
Lynn?
I agree with what both of you all said, and just trying to build on that, my reference is very food service related, and that's our point of differentiation. And it's really about the partnerships, but as we're broken down in functional areas, I might be more focused on innovation. We have our quality assurance folks talking directly with the suppliers, quality assurance folks, the sourcing people are connected. So we're all connected at a different level and integrated into our key suppliers to have those conversations. It's about cost, it's about best product, but it's also about where the product's coming from and does that fit with your goals. So it's complicated.
It sounds like you're much more involved from a retailer standpoint than ever before.
You have to know where your
suppliers.
food is coming from. And you have to know that the suppliers are coming along with you, whether that's you don't want artificial ingredients, you want raised without antibiotics, and are the suppliers' programs in place to make sure that what you're buying is actually what they're.
So unlike 20 years ago, when a multinational would come to you and say, "Here's my latest version of artificially colored, artificially flavored, artificially everything breakfast cereal, but I've got a cartoon character on the front," you're saying, "Here's what I want. I'm not just going to take what you have."
It's more than that, right? And so it's partly differentiation and value and innovation and fit with the direction of what the consumer's asking for.
So Richard, what about your relationship with brands? How does that work? Very differently.
Like Jack said, who would not be concerned about this rise in prices? I mean, it literally gives me a little bit of a queasy feeling when I hear about those statistics. It's just a very integral part of how the consumer interacts with food in this country in particular. Price is very, very important. I will tell you, and this is not a choreographed setup, but when I leave this meeting here, I am going down to the show floor to a meeting with UNFI. And the topic of that meeting is our volume discount. And it's a very serious meeting. My buyers are not conducting the meeting, I'm doing the meeting. That is how important this stuff is. So we have to leverage our trade industry relationships. We're a member of INFRA, the Independent Natural Food Retailers Association. They speak for us in the platform of dealing with negotiations with manufacturers, so we can get discounts through that way. But our volume discount with UNFI, our relationships to direct vendors and small distributors in this region are absolutely critical. We do rely on our buyers to have those relationships, which are key to, get preferential pricing or take advantage of every deal that's available to us. It's just part of the equation.